The station was quiet, just the way Marin liked it. Far away from the busy space lanes, the old repair dock floated near a wide asteroid belt. Out here, time moved slow. Ships rarely came by, and when they did, it was usually for small fixes: cracked hulls, burned wires, or engines that coughed and sputtered like old machines on their last breath. Marin was used to it. He had worked with machines his whole life, and he preferred their company over people. Machines did not lie. They broke, they bent, they groaned, but they always told the truth about what was wrong. All you needed to do was listen. On this particular day, the hum of the dock was steady, the monitors showing nothing unusual. Marin leaned against the tool bench, wiping grease from his hands, when the alarm lit up red across the screen. His eyes narrowed. A distress signal pulsed on the outer edge of the asteroid field. The frequency was old, weak, almost broken, but it was still there, a voice calling out for help. Marin straightened and walked quickly to the console. He tapped the keys, bringing up the image. The feed was shaky, distorted, but he saw enough. A small vessel was drifting through the rocks, its hull scorched and split in places. Sparks bled from its engines. It looked as though it had been hunted. Great, Marin muttered under his breath. He knew better than to expect a simple repair. A ship in that condition often came with stories, and stories usually meant trouble. But something in the faint, struggling signal made him pause. He could not ignore it. He pulled on his work jacket, grabbed his tool pack, and moved toward the dock's airlock. His old shuttle hummed to life with a cough, then steadied. He guided it out into the black, the stars cold and sharp around him. The drifting vessel grew larger on his screen, spinning slowly in the silence of space. As he came closer, Marin noticed scorch marks that were not from space dust or natural wear. These were deliberate. Weapons fire. Someone had tried very hard to stop this ship. Marin locked his shuttle onto the vessel's side hatch. His boots clanked as the magnetic seals engaged. He opened the docking tunnel and stepped into the alien craft. The air was thin and smelled faintly of burning wires. The walls were unfamiliar, curved and smooth, glowing faintly with weak lights. He moved carefully through the corridor, his lamp casting long shadows on the walls. Wires hung down like broken vines. Panels were cracked. Every step echoed, and the silence pressed in around him. Then he saw her. In the command chair, at the center of the control room, sat a figure. She was slumped forward, her breathing shallow, her skin pale beneath strange markings that seemed natural, not painted. She looked young, fragile in that moment, though Marin could tell by the ship's design that she was not human. Her eyes fluttered open as he approached. For a moment, she stared at him as though she wasn't sure if he was real. Then her lips moved. Her voice was soft, weak, barely above a whisper. "Please, take them off." Marin froze, frowning. He looked around the room but saw no chains, no ropes, nothing that held her down. Then his eyes dropped lower. Around her arms and neck clung strange devices, not metal cuffs, but something alive. They pulsed faintly with a dull red glow, like parasites feeding on her. She tried to raise her hand, but it trembled and fell back to her lap. Her eyes pleaded with him. "Take them off." Marin's stomach tightened. He had repaired engines, replaced reactors, and patched hulls split wide open, but this was different. This was not just a machine. It was something between life and machine, and it was hurting her. He stepped closer, studying the devices. They were clamped tight to her skin, tiny wires burrowing beneath the surface. The glow matched the faint hum he could hear in the room, a rhythm like a heartbeat, but not hers. He reached out, his hand hovering just above one of the clamps. The warmth that radiated from it was unnatural, wrong. He pulled back slowly. The alien woman's eyes closed for a moment, then opened again, filled with a quiet desperation. Please, she whispered once more. Marin felt the weight of the moment pressing down on him. He had no idea what these things were or what would happen if he tried to remove them. But he knew one thing, she would not last long if they stayed. For the first time in years, he felt something stir in his chest, a spark of duty, of responsibility, of humanity. He was just a mechanic, far from any fleet or government. But in this quiet corner of space, he was the only one here. And that meant the choice was his. Marin tightened his grip on the tool pack. Whatever those things were, he was going to find out. The station had always been his world, a place of broken machines and forgotten ships. But now, sitting in front of him, half-conscious and pleading, was a living being who needed him. And for the first time, Marin realized that maybe his hands that had fixed countless machines might be the only ones able to save her. He knelt beside her, eyes locked on the strange devices. The hum filled the room, steady and cruel. He whispered back, almost to himself, but loud enough for her to hear. I'll take them off. The ship around Marin groaned as if it were alive, every spark and flicker of light reminding him that the vessel was dying. He adjusted the lamp on his shoulder, its glow cutting through the dim control room. The alien woman sat weakly in the chair, her head tilted as though the weight of those strange devices was too heavy for her to bear. Her breathing was slow, uneven, and every time she whispered, her words seemed to fade into the hum of the ship. Marin crouched beside her. His eyes traced the strange clamps attached to her arms and neck. They weren't just fastened to the surface, they had burrowed in, connecting themselves as if they were part of her body. The faint red glow pulsed again, and he thought he could hear a faint clicking noise inside them, like the sound of gears grinding against each other. Easy, he muttered quietly, though he wasn't sure if he was talking to her or himself. The woman's eyes flickered open, filled with exhaustion but also fear. She tried to speak, but the effort was too much. Only a broken whisper escaped her lips, please, take them off. Marin felt his chest tighten again. He had seen many things in his years of fixing ships, but this was something different, something cruel. Whoever had made these devices hadn't built them to help. They were built to control. He opened his tool pack and pulled out a small scanner, an old model but reliable. He held it close to one of the devices and waited. The screen buzzed, lines of data scrolling across. His eyes narrowed. The clamps weren't just physical, they were feeding energy into themselves, drawing power from her very body. Like parasites, they were drinking her strength drop by drop. Marin shook his head slowly. No wonder you can't stand. The alien woman blinked, her gaze unfocused. She looked at him as if she wanted to believe he could help but didn't dare hope too much. He moved carefully around her, checking each device. The one at her neck was the largest, shaped like a collar but fused into her skin. The glow from it was stronger, steady, as though it was the main source. The others on her arms pulsed weaker, like branches feeding from the same root. Marin sighed. If I take off the smaller ones first, the big one might tighten. But if I take off the big one first, he stopped himself. She wouldn't understand his muttering. And truthfully, he wasn't sure of the answer either. The ship trembled, a deep vibration echoing through the walls. Marin glanced toward the main console. Warning lights flickered weakly. This vessel was not just damaged, it was on the edge of collapse. Time was against him. He touched her shoulder gently, careful not to disturb the device. Listen. My name is Marin. I'm a mechanic. I'll try to help you, but you need to stay still. Her lips moved, slow and faint. Marin. The way she said his name, soft and unsure, made him pause. He wasn't used to hearing it from anyone but himself. Out here, far from home, he had almost forgotten what it sounded like spoken by another voice. He cleared his throat and turned back to his tools. He pulled out a fine cutter, the kind used for separating fused wires without damaging them. The blade gleamed faintly in the lamplight. With steady hands, he pressed it close to the first clamp. The device reacted instantly. A sharp spark jumped across its surface, and the red glow brightened. The alien woman let out a strained gasp, her body tensing. Marin pulled back. Damn it, it knows. These weren't simple machines. They were designed to resist tampering, to fight back. Whoever had put them on her wanted to make sure they stayed. He studied the scanner again, adjusting the frequency. Maybe if he could confuse the signal, he could weaken the hold. The screen showed flickers of energy patterns, complicated and strange, but he began to see a rhythm. It reminded him of an engine cycle, rising and falling in steady waves. Engines, he knew. Engines he could work with. He adjusted the tool in his hand, matching the cutter's pulse to the rhythm on the screen. His jaw tightened as he lowered it again. This time, when the blade touched the edge of the device, the glow flickered, not brighter but weaker. The woman shivered, her lips parting as though a weight had shifted. That's it, Marin whispered. I've got you. He kept working, slowly, carefully. Sweat began to bead on his forehead, not from heat but from the pressure of the moment. The ship moaned again, warning him of its failing systems, but he ignored it. His focus was on the device, on the thin line between freeing her and causing harm. Finally, with a faint click, the first clamp loosened. It slid from her arm and fell to the floor with a metallic thud. The red glow faded into nothing. The alien woman gasped sharply, her hand twitching as strength returned just slightly. Her eyes met his, wide with both fear and hope. One down, Marin said quietly, though his own heart was racing. He glanced at the others. 3 more remained, and the largest was still at her neck. The woman whispered again, almost too soft to hear. Thank you. Marin looked at her for a long moment. He wasn't sure what kind of world she came from or what kind of life she had lived before ending up here. But he knew one thing, she didn't deserve this. And he wasn't going to stop until every last one of those things was gone. The broken clamp lay on the floor, its red glow gone, leaving only cold metal behind. Marin stared at it for a moment, his hands still gripping the tool tightly. He had removed one, but 3 more remained. Each of them pulsed with that dull light, feeding on the alien woman's body as if she were nothing more than a power source. The woman's breathing had steadied slightly after the first clamp fell away, but her voice was still faint. Her eyes followed Marin's movements, filled with a fragile kind of hope, as though she was afraid to believe too much in case it was taken away. Marin wiped the sweat from his forehead with the back of his sleeve. We're not finished yet, he muttered softly. His words were calm, steady, but inside he felt the weight of the task pressing hard on him. The next clamp sat on her other arm, just above the wrist. It looked smaller than the one on her neck, but Marin knew better than to trust appearances. These devices were built to trap, to punish anyone who tried to resist them. He studied it carefully, the scanner humming in his hand. The readings showed the same pulse of energy, only weaker. It seemed the devices were linked together, feeding strength into the main collar at her neck. That explained why removing one had not harmed her. Instead, it weakened the whole system. Good, Marin whispered, adjusting the frequency on the scanner. That means I can take the others without killing you. The woman's lips moved. For a moment he thought she was too weak to speak, but then a whisper reached him. You understand machines. Marin gave a small, tired smile. Better than people, most days. Her head tilted weakly. She wanted to say more, but her strength failed. Marin didn't push her. Talking could wait. Right now, the clamps couldn't. He positioned the cutter over the second device. Again, the glow flared as if the machine sensed danger. But Marin had learned its rhythm. He matched his tool's pulse with the beating pattern of the energy inside. Slowly, carefully, he worked along the edge, looking for the weak point. The woman trembled, her body stiff as though the device was fighting back. Her breathing quickened, and Marin leaned closer. "Stay with me. Just a little longer." There was a sharp crack, then silence. The clamp broke loose and fell to the floor beside the first. The faint glow died. The alien woman gasped, her shoulders trembling as a little more strength returned. Her hand twitched, fingers curling slightly as though she was testing her freedom. "That's two," Marin said quietly. His voice was calm, but his heart beat hard against his chest. He turned his attention to the third device. This one was strapped around her upper arm, near the shoulder. It was thicker, the glow brighter, almost as if it carried more of the energy. He frowned. Removing it might be harder. As he prepared his tools, the ship shuddered violently. Sparks fell from the ceiling, and the lights flickered. Marin grabbed the chair to steady himself. The vessel was falling apart faster than he had expected. If it collapsed while he was inside, neither of them would survive. He looked at the woman. She had closed her eyes again, but he could see the strain on her face. Her body was fragile under the weight of the machines, and time was slipping away. "All right," he said firmly, more to himself than her. "We do this now." He placed the scanner against the third clamp. The readings jumped, stronger and more chaotic than before. The energy inside this device was not steady, it surged like a storm. He bit his lip, thinking fast. If he cut the wrong line, it might release that energy directly into her body. He adjusted the frequency again, watching the pattern. Slowly, the storm began to make sense. Beneath the chaos was a rhythm, harder to see but still there. Engines always had a cycle, even broken ones. And Marin was a man who knew how to fix broken engines. With careful movements, he placed the cutter at the edge. The clamp sparked, resisting, but he pressed on. The glow flickered, dimmed, then brightened again. He matched his tool to the hidden rhythm, steady as a heartbeat. The woman let out a cry, faint but filled with pain. Marin clenched his jaw. "Almost there. Hold on." The cutter sliced deeper. For a moment he thought the device would fight him off, but then there was a sharp snap. The third clamp fell free, hitting the floor with a metallic clang. Its glow faded into nothingness. The alien woman's body sagged forward, almost collapsing. Marin caught her gently, supporting her weight with one arm. She was shaking, but her breathing came easier now, as though the air was finally reaching her lungs without resistance. "You're stronger already," he said softly. Her eyes opened halfway, looking at him with a mixture of gratitude and disbelief. "I can feel it." Marin gave a small nod. But his gaze shifted to the last device, the collar at her neck. This one was different from the rest. Larger, heavier, its glow stronger than all three clamps combined. It was the core, the heart of the system. Removing it would not be simple. The ship groaned again, a deep sound that made the floor tremble beneath their feet. Time was running out. Marin tightened his grip on his tools. "One more," he whispered. His voice was steady, but inside he felt the weight of the task ahead. The collar was not just a shackle. It was a control. And if he failed, it might be the last mistake he ever made. The last device at her neck pulsed ominously, brighter than the others, as if it knew what Marin was thinking. The glow cast long shadows across the control room, making the alien woman's fragile frame look even smaller. She leaned back in the chair, trembling, her eyes wide and full of silent fear. Marin took a deep breath. This was the hardest part. He had removed 3 clamps already, each time testing the limits of his skill and patience. But the collar was different. Its pulse was not just energy, it was intelligence. It resisted him, almost alive, as if it could sense his every move. He knelt carefully in front of her, placing the scanner against the collar. Lines of data scrolled across the screen in a chaotic rhythm. Sparks jumped from the collar as the scanner hummed. Marin's jaw tightened. He had to focus. One wrong move, and the energy trapped in the device could flow directly into her body. "Stay still," he whispered, his voice steady even though his hands shook slightly. "You'll be free soon." The woman tried to nod, but her strength was still weak. Her breathing was shallow, and the faint glow of sweat on her forehead caught the light. She looked at him with hope, a fragile thread in the midst of fear. Marin felt a pang in his chest. He had seen broken machines, but he had never seen someone so completely trapped by a creation meant to hurt rather than help. He adjusted the cutter in his hand, matching the pulse of the collar's energy to the rhythm of his tool. Sparks flew as he touched the edge of the device, and the woman flinched slightly. Marin whispered, "Almost there. You can do this." The device pulsed faster, a warning, and Marin knew he had to be precise. He studied the data on the scanner, noting the subtle dips and rises in the energy. Each pulse was like a note in a song, strange and threatening, but with a pattern he could follow. Careful, careful, careful. The cutter traced the seam of the collar, slicing through the outer layer without touching her skin. The glow flickered, dimming slightly. The woman exhaled sharply, a sound that seemed to mix relief with fear. She tried to move, but Marin gently held her shoulders. "Almost there. Don't move." The collar reacted, sparking violently for a brief second. Marin flinched but did not let go. He had to keep the tool steady, follow the rhythm, and trust his instincts. Every second counted. The ship groaned, metal creaking under the strain of old damage. Sparks fell from overhead, tiny showers of light that highlighted the tension in the room. Marin focused on the pulse, letting it guide his hands. Slowly, slowly, he worked the cutter along the edge, separating the device from her skin. It was delicate, terrifying work. One wrong move and the energy could surge into her body. One wrong move, and all his efforts would be wasted. The woman's lips parted, whispering a soft prayer, though Marin could not hear the words. Her eyes stayed fixed on him, trust shining despite exhaustion. He could feel the weight of it, her life, her hope, everything rested on his hands. And then, with a faint click, the collar began to loosen. Marin felt the vibration of the device fade, the glow dimming as the energy inside dissipated. The woman gasped, her body sagging forward slightly. Marin caught her, holding her steady. She blinked, looking at him with wide eyes, filled with disbelief and relief. I feel lighter," she whispered, her voice trembling. Marin gave a small smile. "That's because you are. It's gone." The ship trembled, a low groan echoing through the corridors. Marin glanced at the console. The systems were failing, but it did not matter now. The alien woman was free from the devices. For the first time, her body moved without the pull of the clamps, her arms and shoulders lifting naturally. She tested her strength, standing slowly, shakily, and taking a step forward. Marin supported her, letting her regain balance. "See? You're strong," he said softly. Her eyes sparkled with gratitude, and she gave a weak, but genuine, smile. You risked yourself for me," she said. "Why?" Marin shrugged, though inside he felt the truth of it. "I fix things," he said simply. "Machines. Ships. And sometimes, people. If I can help, I do." The woman's gaze lingered on him, as though trying to understand this human, this mechanic who had faced danger without hesitation. No one has ever done this," she murmured. Marin shook his head. "Maybe not. But it's not about what others have done. It's about what needs to be done." For a long moment, silence filled the room. The hum of the ship, the flickering lights, the quiet exhalation of relief, it all seemed to settle around them. Marin finally leaned back, exhausted but satisfied. He had gambled with the unknown, risked the woman's life and his own, and it had paid off. The alien woman moved closer, still trembling slightly. "You saved me," she said again, more firmly this time. "I don't know how to thank you." Marin gave a tired smile, patting her shoulder. "Just stay alive. That's thanks enough for me." The quiet bond between them, fragile but real, filled the control room. The devices were gone, but the story was far from over. This encounter had changed something, not just for the alien woman, but for Marin as well. He realized something about humanity, about himself. It was not machines that defined them, not tools or skills, but the courage to act when no one else would. The spark of ingenuity, the will to help, even against impossible odds. That was the human gift. And in this quiet, broken ship at the edge of the asteroid belt, that gift had saved a life. The last of the devices lay on the floor, lifeless and cold. The alien woman sat upright for the first time, her breathing even, her body slowly regaining strength. Marin wiped sweat from his brow, his muscles aching from the careful work. The glow of the clamps was gone, replaced by silence, a quiet that seemed almost holy in the ruined control room. The woman's hands hovered over her arms and neck, testing them, flexing her fingers and shoulders as though she could not yet believe she was free. Her movements were slow, careful, but she smiled faintly, the first real smile since Marin had entered the ship. "Thank you," she whispered, voice still weak but filled with genuine relief. Marin shook his head, a tired smile on his face. "No thanks needed. You're alive. That's enough." The ship trembled beneath them, a deep, ominous groan that echoed through the hull. Marin froze for a moment, glancing at the monitors. Systems were failing. Lights flickered. Alarms blinked weakly. The vessel had been damaged badly in the attack that had left it drifting here. Sparks rained down from the ceiling, and he knew the structure might not hold for much longer. "We need to move," he said, helping the woman to her feet. She swayed slightly but caught herself on his shoulder. Her strength was returning fast, but she was not fully steady yet. He led her toward the main hallway, checking each bulkhead. The walls had been scorched and bent, and debris scattered the floor. "Hold on tight," he warned, ducking under a low panel. Sparks cracked the air above them, and he felt the heat brush against his face. The woman followed, her eyes wide with cautious awe. "Your station is so quiet, so empty," she whispered. "It is very different from the cities I know." Marin chuckled softly. "Quiet is good. Makes work easier. And safer, usually." He tightened his grip on her arm as another shudder ran through the ship. They reached a small corridor leading to the exit hatch. Marin paused, glancing back at the control room. The place that had held her life hostage was now empty, silent, and almost peaceful in its stillness. He felt a sense of accomplishment, but it was tempered by the trembling groans of the hull. Suddenly, the ship shivered violently, throwing both of them to the floor. Sparks flew, and a section of the ceiling collapsed nearby. Marin rolled to shield her, pulling her down with him. Dust and debris filled the air, and he coughed as he tried to see the path ahead. "We have to go now," he shouted over the chaos. The woman nodded, gripping his arm. I can walk," she said. Her voice was stronger now, and Marin realized she was testing her new freedom. "Yes," he said, helping her up. "But fast. Don't look back. Just follow me." They ran through the corridor, ducking under twisted metal and avoiding sparks that rained down like fireflies. Every step was a gamble. A weak floor panel could give way, a support beam could collapse. But Marin's experience guided them, and the woman trusted him completely. Finally, they reached the exit hatch. Marin's hands flew over the controls, overriding the failing locks. With a hiss, the airlock opened, spilling the harsh light of space into the corridor. Outside, the asteroid field stretched endlessly, silent and cold. The woman took a deep breath of the recycled air from the airlock and stepped cautiously onto the small platform. She looked back once at the ship. Though battered and broken, it had carried her this far. She felt gratitude, not only for Marin's help but for the vessel that had been her temporary home and prison. Marin stepped beside her, watching her face. "You're free now," he said. "No one can hurt you here." Her eyes sparkled with relief, but a shadow crossed her features. "They will try to find me again. They will not forgive me for escaping." Marin frowned. "Then we get you somewhere safe. We fix the ship enough to move you, and we make sure you're not easy to track." She looked at him, and for the first time, he noticed something else, a spark of determination in her eyes. Though she was weak, she was no longer a victim. She was alive, and she would fight if she had to. They moved to the shuttle dock, Marin checking the smaller escape pod for damage. He activated the systems, engines humming as they came online. The woman helped as best she could, her hands shaking slightly but steadying as strength returned. Finally, the pod's door hissed shut. Marin secured the controls and glanced at her. "Ready?" She nodded, her expression serious now, no longer afraid. "Yes. Let's go." The pod detached from the damaged ship, and they drifted into open space. Marin guided them carefully, watching the asteroid field. The stars were bright, cold, and endless. He felt a strange pride they had survived something deadly, and the alien woman had regained her freedom. As the damaged vessel sank behind them, a silent reminder of the danger they had escaped, the woman finally spoke again, her voice steady and strong. "I am grateful, more than words can say." Marin smiled faintly. "Don't worry about words. Actions are enough." In that moment, as they moved further from the danger, he realized something important. The galaxy was full of threats, machines, and creatures that would try to control others. But humans had ingenuity, courage, and a will to act when no one else would. That spark had saved her life today. And maybe, he thought, that same spark could change more than one life in the future. The silence of the space station was broken by the sharp sound of alarms. Red lights flashed across the walls, painting the corridors with a sense of urgency. Kira's heart pounded as she glanced at Sira, who stood beside her, calm but alert. "They're here," Sira said quietly, her eyes scanning the station's monitors. "The Empire's enforcers have arrived." Kira took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. She was just a mechanic, used to fixing machines, not leading a fight. But this was bigger than any repair job she had ever done. It was about freedom, hers, Sira's, and maybe many others. The station's crew hurried to their positions, their faces a mix of fear and determination. They trusted Kira now, after all she had done to help Sira and protect the station. Kira quickly explained their plan. "We don't have their firepower, but we have the element of surprise. We'll use the station's defense systems and Sira's abilities to keep them out. Stick together, watch each other's backs." The heavy doors to the docking bay slid open, and the Empire's enforcers entered. They wore sleek armor, moving with precise steps. Their weapons glowed softly, ready to be used. Kira's fingers flew over the control panel, activating the station's defense drones. Small, fast machines buzzed to life, patrolling the corridors. The enforcers barely had time to react before the drones swarmed around them, creating confusion. Sira moved forward, her eyes glowing faintly with power. She raised her hands, and a wave of energy pulsed through the air. The enforcers stumbled, their weapons momentarily useless against the invisible force. Kira watched in awe. Sira's control over energy was like nothing she had ever seen. but the enforcers quickly regrouped, advancing with more caution. One of the crew shouted, "They're trying to flank us from the east corridor." Kira grabbed a handheld communicator. "Everyone, fall back to the main control room. We'll hold them there." As they retreated, Kira helped Sira move through the twisting passages of the station. They knew they couldn't fight the Empire's forces head-on. They needed to be clever. Reaching the control room, Kira sealed the doors and set up a barricade with metal crates and equipment. Sira placed her hands on the wall, channeling her energy to strengthen the barrier. The enforcers pushed against the doors, their strength almost breaking the seal. Kira's heart raced. She adjusted the power settings on the defense system, sending a low hum through the floor, enough to slow their advance. Suddenly, the station shook. A heavy blast hit the hull nearby. The Empire's ship was firing, trying to force them out. "We can't hold much longer," one crew member said, panic in his voice. Sira looked at Kira. "We need to use their own technology against them." Kira nodded, understanding. She raced to the control panel, quickly hacking into the Empire's communication system. Her hands moved swiftly over the controls, rerouting signals. "Now!" Sira shouted. Energy crackled from her fingers as she sent a focused blast through the station's network. The Empire's systems began to glitch, their weapons misfired, their communication broke down. Confusion spread among the enforcers. Without their technology working properly, their confidence faltered. Kira and Sira took the chance to lead a charge out of the control room. The crew followed, pushing the enforcers back step by step. One enforcer tried to trap Sira in a corner, but she smiled. With a graceful motion, she created a barrier of light, gently pushing the enemy away without harm. "Please stop," she said firmly. "We don't want to fight. We only want freedom." The enforcers hesitated, their faces showing doubt. The power of kindness and courage was stronger than any weapon. Kira saw an opening and called out, "Let's end this now." Together. The crew joined in, raising their voices in unity. The enforcers lowered their weapons, realizing this battle was lost. The space station fell silent once more, but this time, it was a quiet full of hope. Sira turned to Kira, her eyes shining. "You were brave. Your heart made the difference." Kira smiled, feeling proud. She was more than a mechanic now, she was a part of something greater. Together, they had stood against the Empire and shown that even the smallest spark of courage could light the darkest night. The space station, once a silent outpost near a dying star, now hummed with a new energy. The crew moved with purpose, repairing damage and checking systems. The battle was over, but its meaning was just beginning. Kira stood by the main window, staring out into the vastness of space. The stars twinkled like tiny promises, reminding her of the endless possibilities ahead. Beside her, Sira's calm presence was a steady comfort. "We did it," Kira said softly. "We really did it?" Sira smiled. "Yes. But this is only the start." Kira turned to her. "What do you mean?" Sira's eyes glowed with quiet determination. "The Empire still controls many worlds. They use devices like the ones I wore to keep people in fear and silence. But now, we have a chance to change that." Kira's heart quickened. The idea of standing up against such a powerful force felt huge. But she also felt ready, stronger than ever before. "Will you come with me?" Sira asked. "I want you to join my mission. To free others, to bring hope." Kira nodded without hesitation. "I'm in." Together, they gathered the station's crew for a meeting. Kira spoke first, her voice steady and clear. "This fight isn't over," she said. "But we have something they don't: courage, friendship, and the will to stand together. We'll use everything we've learned to help those still trapped." The crew listened, inspired by Kira's words. They had seen the power of working with Sira and the strength it gave them all. Plans began to form. The station would become a hub for rescue missions, a place where those escaping oppression could find safety and support. Technology would be shared, combining human skill and alien knowledge. Over the next days, Kira and Sira worked side by side. Kira repaired the station's systems and built new devices to detect the Empire's movements. Sira practiced using her powers carefully, teaching others to understand energy and control. One evening, as the star outside faded into darkness, Kira and Sira stood together on the observation deck. "Do you ever miss your home?" Kira asked quietly. Sira nodded. "Yes. But I believe home is where we make it. Wherever we stand for what is right, that becomes home." Kira smiled. "I think I'm starting to understand that." Their peaceful moment was interrupted by a soft beep from the control panel. A message was incoming, a distress call from a nearby colony under Empire attack. Kira looked at Sira. "Looks like our first mission is ready." Sira's eyes brightened with determination. "Then let's go." As they prepared to leave, the crew gathered to say goodbye. There were no goodbyes, only promises to return. Kira felt a deep sense of belonging. She was no longer just a mechanic fixing machines, she was part of something bigger, a force for hope and change. The small ship lifted off, heading toward the stars. The universe was vast and full of challenges, but Kira and Sira knew they would face them together. In the quiet hum of the engines, Kira whispered, "For freedom. For all of us." Sira smiled, reaching out to hold her hand. "For the future." And with that, they soared into the unknown, not just as survivors, but as beacons of light for all who dreamed of a better tomorrow.